Hello there. This is my attempt at showing more of a beginner's tutorial for this run. I've been requested it over time and stuff, and I've done some theory tests of the game, and I've made paste bin notes along with them. You could check those out also. However, those are pretty advanced, and there is still very useful stuff, you know, just for beginners to understand mechanics and stuff, but I also understand if it's kind of hard to follow along or kind of hard to understand, and some people just like the voice tutorials better. But before you even start the game here, there's an option screen. You got 4 different types of controls. Of course, the game defaults to the first one, but because the hovering control at the bottom, that's for your cape, which is a big speed tactic for this game. It's just more comfortable for me personally to use control type 3. However, you can use whatever's most comfortable to you. Hulk, the best runner of this game, uses control type 1, and I've seen people use every different kind of control. So I will be referring to the cape as the X button, but if you're using a different control type, just assume X is, you know, just using the cape. So going right in, starting the timer, you just want to press it right as soon as you press game start. So there you go. So right away, you just want to jump over this barrel, jump over this guy, jump up here, jump over him. Just like this. And then right away, here's the first specific thing you want to do. If you just run across here, you're not going to be able to make it to this bouncy thing. Also, apologies, I'm very bad at naming enemies and stuff, so I'm going to refer to most things as, well, you know, things. So if you try to just run across here without doing anything, you're not going to make it onto here. So what you want to do, you see these 2 tents right here? You want to jump right in between here. It's not super specific, you just want to be somewhat in between. And just do a small jump, because if you try to do a higher jump like this, you're going to get hit by the pop bird that's right above. So you just want to do a small jump there, and then this enemy right here, that'll cause his aggro to delay a little bit, so you'll be able to run a little bit more and catch this bounce. So jump right there, just like that. And if you want some kind of visual cue to do the second jump, you see like this vertical line in the building, or like the vertical seam, I guess. Just jump here, you'll make it every time. And it's also a full jump you're doing there. You actually have full control of Aladdin's jump in this game. So if you just tap it, he'll do a tiny jump. You can also just hold it and you'll see he'll do this high jump. But you have full control of his jump. So just remember that, keep that in mind. So jump onto here. Then you want to run a tiny bit on this tent, because if you try to jump immediately, you won't even make it onto this next tent, which you need to make it on, because the cape is all the way at the top of this level. So slight run, there you go. Just want to make it here, because you're going to be climbing up here, bouncing off that guy. Makes a nice little funny animation. But right up there is one of your main mechanics of the game, is the cape, the sheet, the rag, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it the cape, because I've always called it that. And what this allows you to do, ideally you want to spam it as fast as possible, but for beginners and stuff, don't go crazy with this. I'm not even going to go crazy within the tutorial here. I'm going to take my time, you know, just like this, instead of, you know, spamming it like this. You don't need to do that. But what the cape does is every time you release it, it pushes Aladdin forward 2 pixels, which is the equivalent of 1 frame. So that's why you want to press it as much as you can. But for beginning out, don't go crazy about it. Just do enough where, you know, you got control of it. There's also an extra heart in here, in this chest, if you want to take that. You see I got 4 hearts now. You start with 3. So a little run there. And once you get to here, just hold up. And then jump and hold upright a little bit. Link will automatically grab the ledge. I just called him Link. Aladdin. I've been playing too much Link to the Past, sorry. But he'll automatically grab the ledge. And the main mechanic with ledge grabbing is just when Aladdin's hitbox comes in contact with it. So like here, I'll just jump to it and completely release the D-pad. He still grabs it. So it's just when the hitboxes grab each other. It's that simple. Up, grab it. Bounce off this guy, grab your cape. You want to cape all the way over here. And you're going to be up here for a little bit. But you're also going to see this one up. Don't grab this one up. Whatever you do, don't grab it. There is a very specific reason to it, which is at the start of the first genie stage. When we get there, I'll explain it some more. But you don't want to grab this, you want to skip over it. And then you'll cape all the way down here. This part is pretty difficult to do. I'll just show this part first in case you want to go for it. But you run down here. You need to jump over this archer, which is really difficult. You only have 3 to 6 frames to jump and not ledge grab this platform here. But if you don't want to do that, there is a much more simple way, like a really free way to do this. Just grab this hook, swing to the next one, swing to here. There you go. Easy and done. And there's the first level there. So this second level, I'm going to introduce how you're going to mess around with these slopes to optimize your movement. You never want to run up a slope like this. This one's kind of a small slope, so you might not be able to see as good. But Link's move... Oh my god. How many more times am I going to call him Link? Anyway, Aladdin's movement is going to slow down quite a lot. And it's actually the equivalent of normal ground walking speed, like this. So when you run up a slope, Aladdin's movement is the same as walking on ground. So in order to avoid this, you just want to simply avoid the upslopes as much as possible. So you'll see a lot of jumping up them. If it's like a really long upslope, you just want to jump continuously as much as possible until you're done with it. It's pretty simple. So to start this level, you just want to jump on this upslope, jump here and jump here, go here. Now there's 2 different ways you can handle this part here. You can go to the bottom, throw an apple at this guard. That's kind of hard to do though, honestly. And you actually want to be conservative with your apples, because you don't start out with that much, and apples are actually a pretty big way to save time in this run, whether you're starting out or not. So I mean, if you really want to go for this, you can. But just be aware, if you land too late, like this, the guard is going to throw his barrel before the apple hits him, and then you're going to get smacked in the face, which is not good. So another way to do this is to just run to the end here, go here. And you see some lag happens there, but it's just inevitable. Because you have the guard at the bottom, and then you have an archer above Aladdin that's trying to shoot an arrow. But again, it's really easy. So you can just resort to this if you want. But this jump is a little bit tight. You want to jump like at the end there and hold the cape so you don't ledge grab by accident. You also want to try to avoid the gems that are above Aladdin here, because you see if I do it, look at that lag. That lag is like really, really bad. So if you go for this route, just try to avoid them like that. And here's where I should explain downslopes. Contrary to the upslopes, as you see here, it really slows Aladdin down. The downslopes speed him up some more. So throughout basically all of the game, you want to take advantage of downslopes as much as possible. And the other upside to downslopes is that when you jump off of it, you keep that momentum from running on the downslope. It's like this. I know it's definitely hard to see it at first, especially if you're just starting out. It might look the same as a normal jump, but trust me, you're keeping your momentum. So what you want to do in this specific case is to land on this downslope as soon as you can, run all the way down, and then jump. If you try to cape mash like this when you're jumping on a downslope, human cape mashing is going to be quite a bit slower than just retaining your downslope momentum. So you just want to keep the jump with it, unless you're like at the very end like that. If you're like just before you're about to hit the ground, then you could do a couple of them. So land as early as you can, jump, take it there, there you go. Now this part is pretty tricky whether you're a beginner or an advanced player. There's really no way to beat around the bush here. But what you want to try to do, since these are upslopes, you want to jump continuously so you don't lose your speed. You don't want to do this. Unless you're really having so much trouble with jumping on these slopes, which it's pretty hard to do, and be able to hit the stairs above. So like if you're really having trouble with that, you can just, you know, run up them. Just know that it's really slow, and that'll be something for you to improve upon eventually. But you just want to jump up these, and the first possible moment you can jump here and make these stairs is like right after this window in the background. So if I like go here, it's like slightly after. But the thing is, you need to apple right after you're up here. You want to jump and throw an apple immediately. If you're like over here, you have a nice window to do it. But if you really try to cut this jump short, then you'll have as little as a 5-frame window to jump and throw the apple. So just keep that in mind. It might be a better thing to just go like all the way to the end here and then throw it. Just like this. And then after this part, you want to jump off of here, cape mash all the way down here. Don't get hit by this archer. It's kind of easy too, honestly. But just take your time with your mashing here, and he shouldn't hit you. And once again, with down slopes, you want to land early here so you can run down. But at this part, you want to run down a little bit, jump, and throw your apple so it hits this guard. Because just like with all the other barrel guards, he will throw the barrel and hit you in the face, and that's not good. And landing on this upslope, you just want to jump right when you land. Because if you don't, you will get that slow momentum landing from running on this upslope. And this one is really steep, so like it's really noticeable. Like here, let me show. Right, come on. You see how slow that is? And you see how fast Aladdin's moving is when you go down the slope compared to up the slope. That's why you just want to continuously jump if you find yourself landing on an upslope. Or if you can completely avoid the upslope by jumping, then do that. And you see how I jump there, and he keeps his momentum. So land, jump, throw apple, there you go. Now this part is really dumb, because Aladdin has to turn around for a certain amount of frames before you can jump at full speed. If you try to jump like right away, he'll do like this really slow jump. Let me try to demonstrate it. Also, turning around here is really annoying, because Aladdin's turning around mechanics are pretty much the equivalent of Mario games that are like ice levels. I hope that makes sense, but yeah. So this part's actually really tricky in particular because of those two mechanics working against you, and this is like a really tight spot. So this is just going to straight up take practice to get down, because a lot of times you're going to land here and then like slip like this. It's just going to happen, or you're going to jump too early. And there's your really slow jump that I was talking about. So this one you just need to practice. And then cape over to here, and then that's the end of the level. You can do like a tiny jump here in cape mash, but in real time you're only going to save 5 frames at very most, and that's like mashing as hard as you can. So starting out, you probably don't want to do this at all, because it's really easy to jump and like to jump over the ending level trigger, because the ending level trigger, well, it won't trigger until Aladdin is on the ground like this. You see what I mean? So just cape here and just run all the way there. There you go. There's the end of that level. So starting with this third level, I know people aren't a fan of audio cues, but if you're running this game, you probably should be, because there's some good ones. And the start of this level, doing the jump here, you want to use the third note in that opening song to know that you can jump here right away. Do jump like that. Do jump. One, two, three. Like that. You also want to try to jump at the end of this tent here and move forward, because if you try to grab these gems here, the game lags like that. You can grab one of these gems and cause no lag frames at all, like that. The game won't lag at all. But if you grab any more than one gem, then the game will lag a bit. So this level really maximizes, or it's basically all about maximizing your cape mashing. So cape mash up to here, jump up to the top here, and then you do a full jump off, just cape mash all the way down here. And then again with the downslopes, Aladdin's momentum increases on downslopes, so you want to run down this a little bit to get that momentum, and then jump up to the top here, and then jump off, grab this red gem, and just cape mash your way all the way down. And this is one of the very rare instances where you'll jump and you'll still cape mash after the jump, even though you just came from a downslope momentum. Just because the area of how much you have to cape mash is faster than just letting it go like this. So just like that. Then after there, jump up to the top here, land. There is a piece of bread down here at the bottom. That small loaf of bread only increases one of your health. And there's a few chests throughout the game, which is like, it's weird. It goes from a loaf of bread to like a turkey breast. But the treasure chests will have turkey breasts in there, and that refills your health entirely. But just in case you take damage at all, up to this point, there's this piece of bread down here. Now this jump here is a little bit tricky because you want to be towards the end of this ledge here to jump and cape, because you want to make it here without ledge grabbing. And you have a pretty big window if you're not going to cape mash at all. And really, you probably shouldn't, especially if you're just starting out. Don't bother with cape mashing here. You just want to make sure you get to this ledge without ledge grabbing it. Because a ledge grab in this game is about 0.6 seconds lost. So let's see how far back I can go. This will probably ledge grab. Yeah. So you just want to be close to the edge so that doesn't happen. You can cape mash right here if you want when you land. Gain a few frames, but you can also just run and then continue here. There's two things you could do here. You could jump on this platform and then jump again and cape mash. All this does is, you know, just maximizing your cape mashing. But you can also just jump here, go under, do something like this. Because it is actually kind of a tight window to jump from this little platform here and to jump up here without ledge grabbing this by accident. So you can just do something like this. Now with these platforms, you just want to jump on them. Just continue your momentum forward, because you see some of them are pushing backwards. So this part's pretty simple, just jump on all of them, get to here. And if you want to automatically bring Aladdin up from a ledge grab, just hold up and right or just up. Either one works. And he'll automatically bring himself back up like that, instead of like staying here and then inputting. Just like that. This part is pretty tricky, no matter if you're a beginner or advanced player. So, if you try to just hold the dash button and grab onto this, you're not even going to make it to this platform, and you want to make it over here. And I don't know why this mechanic is the way it is, but you have to let go of dash for at least 2 frames before jumping onto this sheet. Like so. So just run a tiny bit. All I do is just, I let go of Y with my thumb, and then, you know, press B afterwards. Nothing fancy. Just let go. Press B. There you go. And just as a reminder again, if you don't do that, Aladdin's not going to make it on there. So if you're making this mistake, you're not letting go of dash for at least 2 frames before jumping onto this sheet. And you'll land here. These jumps are really tricky as well, but all you really need to know is that you only have to tap the B button or hold it for at least 3 frames to make it onto the next ledge. So if you like jump for less than 3 frames, you're not going to make it up there, but if you just give it a tap, you'll make it. And you can actually do these jumps like really fast, but it's really hard to do. I wouldn't worry about that. Just worry about jumping onto these platforms without slipping off. Like that there is really fast. And what I do to make sure I don't slip off here, I make sure I land first, then for this first jump, press left and B. Not at the same time though, you gotta press left like at least a frame beforehand, so you get a tiny bit of momentum going. Like I said in the second stage, when Aladdin is turning around, he has a few frame animation where he needs to turn. You know, it's not on simultaneous frames. So like, if you see that, he like barely jumps at all when I press left and jump at the same time. But if I press left, like at least a frame later, you see a little bit more of a jump there. Actually, it's definitely more like a couple frames of left first. It's not 1 frame later, but it's like a few frames first. And you see how much more momentum he has in his jump. And this isn't holding the dash button. You don't want to hold dash here at all, or else you're going to slip and slide all over the place. And it's just not necessary to optimize this part. So you want to make sure you have this kind of jump when you're doing it, instead of this, because you're not going to make it over there. And then here, just neutral on the D-pad, just a quick jump, and then hold right and jump, and then neutral again. Like this. This is just another part that you really have to practice, because even all the advanced players mess this climb up a lot. It's just really hard to do. And I'm not even optimizing this, I'm just trying to be careful with it. And it's still pretty hard. The second sheet grab here is kind of tricky as well. You want to move forward for at least 1 frame. Because if you don't, you'll see here, I only collect 2 gems here and that bounce was kind of weak. See there, that's a really common mistake to make with jumping on these. But with the sheet again, you just want to move forward a tiny bit. Because if you do that, you see how much more momentum Aladdin had there. So if you're noticing differences when you're coming off of this sheet, then that's probably why. You're just not moving forward right before you jump. This is another common mistake here, just slipping off the ledge. That's why for this part it just takes practice. There's no easy way to do it besides just taking your time with the jumps like this. There's another cool trick you can do here. You can let go of the D-pad and your cape will keep the momentum of your slide down the sheet. For that, you just let go of the D-pad completely after you bounce off the archer. And as long as you're completely neutral on the D-pad, you can press and hold the cape button and then it'll keep Aladdin's momentum. But that's a pretty advanced strat. It only saves 10 frames as well, so you probably don't want to bother. Unless it's really easy to you at the start. And my visual cue for it is when Aladdin grabs the 3rd gem, is when to hold the cape. But if you don't want to go for that, and you probably shouldn't, just hold right Y and B and you're good. So the start of here, this is basically just the level leading up to the first and one of the only bosses in this game, surprisingly. So if you want to, just run up here, throw an apple at this guard. If you want to conserve your apples some more, you can grab this ledge and just hold down right to automatically let go. You can practice that as well. Just jump, hold down right. Aladdin will automatically let go. You can hold down as well, but you're not going to keep Aladdin's momentum, so that's why I say down right. And then just change back to right when you land. So again, you can throw this apple here. Jump over these guards, jump over this guy. Or you can do the ledge grab strat. Like that. If you want to conserve your apples a bit. You also barely want to cape mash here, because this guard will be in the way, or this archer. And if you do, you're going to bounce off this pot. And I feel like it loses more frames to bounce off a pot than it does an enemy. But if you bounce off an enemy, you lose 5 frames of forward momentum. So each bounce costs you 5 frames. But I feel like on pots it might be a bit more. But it's probably the same. And I feel like I tested this while I was doing my theory testing, but I just forget. So yeah, leading up to the boss here is pretty simple. Just jump over these guys, jump over him. Just maximize your cape mashing. And then there's two ways you can start out with this boss. You can just stand here. I'd like to stand, you see how Aladdin is at the very end of the tent behind him. I like to position here. And then jump on the jump on the boss. I don't even remember the timing of the jump here. So you can do this, which is standard. But also another weird thing is if you throw an apple right away at this boss, he aggroes 10 frames faster than if you do nothing. And there's an audio cue you can use for this apple throw. And again, just like the start of the third level, it's the third note of the song. So it goes like do do do. So like right on that third note, you want to apple. And if you're gonna do this apple strat, you want to just hold down the whole time. So I'm holding down right now, and he'll automatically crouch. But you need to be careful as well, because if you throw on the first frame, even though you're holding down, just as you saw right there, Aladdin still threw while he was standing up, and it didn't hit the boss. So you want to be careful of that. But the thing is, this only saves 10 frames. So if you're not going to throw the apple in time, like if you're going to take your time kneeling down and then throwing without any cue, like this, that probably was slower right there than just starting out the normal way, like this. So it's up to you if you want to start with the apple throw. I don't even recommend it to beginners, because unless you're throwing this apple as soon as you can, you're very likely not saving any time, and most of the time you'll probably lose frames to taking your time throwing this apple. So just line up with the end of the tent, and you see that this boss will start flinging his sword around, which he'll do for a certain amount of time there. But if you throw an apple at him right away, he'll stop, and that'll make him aggro as soon as possible. And what I like to do here, you see the like really tiny tent in the background behind Aladdin here. I like to line Aladdin up with that, just for consistent positioning and stuff. Because the hitbox on this boss is kind of weird. Because as you see, he pulls his sword back, and that's when you can hit him. But like, that makes the hitbox kind of weird to jump onto him. Because if you're like the tiniest bit early when he pulls back, you're gonna get hit by a sword. So this one, you really just have to feel it out. It's just another thing you just have to put some time in and just get the feel for it. So you see how I have Aladdin lined up with the tent in the background. Just stay there. And then really you just have to feel out when to throw the apple and when to jump at the boss. And that's it for the first world. Then you get to follow Jasmine along, but not for long. Not for long at all. In fact, after this, she's basically gone again. Until the end of the game, I think. But anyway, that's World 1. I'm gonna try to do these videos by the world, just to kind of save my voice from going, and I just feel like I might not cover as much as I should if I try to rush through the whole thing. I already felt like this was dragged out a little bit, but I don't have any video editing software or anything, so I just have to do this in one take. But hopefully this will be good enough, and I'll see you guys for World 2.